Hello there. Right, it's been some week here. A seven-figure bid from Gary Neville was received and dismissed quicker than an underqualified coach at Valencia. At Cream of Manchester Towers, we're very much team Stephen Bartlett. Truly the only man who can make this nonsense profitable, or at least inflate the figures and make it look that way for career leverage. We know you're listening, Stevie, and it's just a matter of time. On this show, Chelsea's finances down the years and Alejandro Garnacho. Andy and I and Roy are joined by Kraig, who is Kraig Dixon. That's Kraig with a K, not Dixon. And you're from CFCUK fanzine, also the fanalist, right? The fan analyst or a fan analyst. So the extent of my knowledge on this is I saw an ad and it looked like the most Arsenal fans TV thing ever. So what does it actually involve?
Yeah, no, definitely none of that. Definitely none of that. No, so it's an app. And funny enough, the aforementioned Gary Neville is part of it, but don't let that put you off. It's just an app for fans, just to have a discussion, really, trying to get away from kind of a bit of the toxicity of X and those types of things. So yeah, you can rate players, referees, things like that, and there's more and more bits being added to the app every day, really, and yeah, it just gives me the chance to go on Sky and rant a bit about Chelsea, so not too bad.
And about referees, you say? How interesting.
Yeah.
we might get onto that.
No.
Yeah, did you enjoy that on Monday?
Not in the slightest, no.
Did you say that's your last game in your current seat in Old Trafford?
Mine is, yeah. I'll be forwarding them on there for the last couple of games. I can't make them, so...
Because you're being forcibly moved around Old Trafford. This is the second summer this has happened.
Yes, that's correct. So
I'm a different type of fan to occupy your seat.
Incredibly so. When I went the other night and I looked to my left where they'd been moved from the start of last season to the people on the other side of the aisle where I've been sat for 40 years, the demographic of the supporter was unbelievable. It was, in a way, I'm kind of glad I'm being moved because that's not my, I won't say my type of fan, but they're not the people I recognise I'd go to the match with or sit and have a pint with or a chin wag in the football, in the pub over a game of football. It's terrible.
It's right on where all the cameras pick up because it's right near the dugouts. So
That's right.
It totally belies this idea of Old Trafford as a theme park. You know what I mean? The club's really helping to sell this image.
Well, you know where they're selling it. Allegedly, it's £1,000 a seat per match. Certainly on the bigger games, and obviously we're only paying £59 a match, so you can see where they're going with all this, and they're just slowly spreading it wider and wider across the main stand.
Yeah, start being realistic, mate. The influencers have to get on the pitch. Sorry, Roy. Start again, boy.
Missing the main point, though. I mean, I watched 3 matches on the telly this week. Monday night against Leeds, Tuesday Atleti Barcelona, Wednesday Bayern Real Madrid. And the difference on the Tuesday, Wednesday to the game on Monday night was so wide. You're then thinking, why do you want to get into the Champions League? Because you're going to need 5 world-class players to supplement the team and squad. And it's all down to money, isn't it? And, the normal fan Andy's talking now. It's not the game. I mean, hopefully in this conversation with Kraig there, I'll be able to tell you what it was like watching Chelsea in 1955 at Old Trafford, the last game of the season, when they won the title for the first time in 50 years. And then it'd be another.
We will get to it. Stop jumping the gun, Roy. Because you say 5 world-class players there. In Chelsea's case, that'd probably be like 50. Just to make sure things are okay for good measure. Well, very few people understand Chelsea's finances, Craig. So we know that football's dodgy and you can sell things that you own back to yourself and call it income. Are Todd Bowley and Clear Lake Capital risking your club's future?
Yes, essentially. I mean, it's murky to say the least, and there's been a few articles this week actually which have tried to explain it a bit more for the layman, and again, because I think there's not been a lot of clarity for us as supporters. Obviously we're kind of aware of the face of it all, but everything else other than that, there's obviously a lot of people involved, a lot of money being borrowed, loaned, like you say, things sort of being, that are not necessarily going against any existing laws, or certainly at the time, but perhaps not exactly in the spirit of things. yeah, you do wonder, you're going to run out the family silver to sell eventually. So yeah, talking about Champions League football, it's I think as Roy's alluded to there with yourselves, it's kind of I think as a supporter, you're looking and thinking on the pitch, we're nowhere near that level of competing at the moment, but the club need to do it because they need the finances, or else you do worry about where it's going to end up.
Yeah, so a friend of this podcast, Jamie Badgewa, who's a finance expert, has written a Substack. You'll find it on the Director's Box Substack. They put out yesterday, I think, that basically details this for the layman. In Chelsea's, to try and sum it up, right, you need the amortisation is often over 8 years. So Chelsea buy players over 8 years. So if it's £80 million, that means it's 10 million each year, and you spread the cost. So that's one of the tricks that they play. You really need to qualify for the Champions League, though, don't you? If you do that, and the other thing is, you mentioned family silver. It's almost literally so, because your academy players then basically have to be sold for profit because they're the ones that generate the most return, right? So you don't get to see the next John Terry.
No, exactly. And I mean, we've already seen it with a few players. Lewis Hall, obviously at Newcastle, I think was very highly rated. I thought he was great when he played for us, and now he's getting in the England mix. He's won. Obviously, you guys might not think he's part of the family silver at United, but Mason Mount was obviously a bit of was a bit of a loss for us because he'd been our player of the season at least, I think, at least once, maybe twice. In successful seasons as well. And obviously, I know he's been injured for a lot of his time at yourselves, but these sorts of players, like you say, they're not really getting the opportunity. And I think this is one of the main bugbears, because when Abramovich was there, obviously we really were going to buy in top world class players, especially in the first few years of his stint. And now we're still spending the money, but we're not getting that quality of player. And you think if we were giving young players a chance who were already within the club, I think people would kind of be like, okay, we're prepared to, take the negatives of that. But the fact that we're going out and buying players from outside, not really using our own academy, and they're not at that level, that's when it's kind of, you're thinking this isn't how football clubs should be run.
Go on then, Roy. How does all this compare to 1955?
Incredibly. I mean, you could walk up to the gate, even the match against the current champions, because Chelsea, it was the last game of the season, and you could walk up to the gate, pay your money, and walk in and watch it. It was like a crossing of the champions, really, because Chelsea won that title that year. United's Busby Babes were really coming through and actually did the double over them. They won 6-5 at Stamford Bridge when Violet got a hat-trick for United, and Seamus O'Connell. Don't know if you ever come across his name, Craig, but Seamus O'Connell's debut was that game, and he was an amateur who played for Bishop Auckland as well. And being an amateur, he could play for the two clubs in the same season. He actually played in the Amateur Cup final for Bishop Auckland and won the league title for Chelsea. And Bishop Auckland, of course, were a massive help to Manchester United when the Munich air crashed, because they gave us 3 players. There was a cracking story. I mean, I was only about 8, and after the game, we're coming off the totally open strip for them, walking down where is the Munich tunnel now. And my dad said, "Have you got your autograph book with me?" I said, "Yeah." And there's the Chelsea coach outside where the old players' tunnel was. So he took my autograph book. He walked onto the coach, and next minute, the coach is driving off up the forecourt. And there am I, 8, thinking, wow, how am I going to explain to my mum? My dad's just been transferred to Chelsea. And the coach got off to the top of the forecourt, and my dad got off and come back. And there I've got the whole Chelsea team, Ron Greenwood, Roy Bentley, even the manager, Ted Drake, got all the autographs. Sadly, it moves. It's gone now. But I'll never forget my first sight of Chelsea.
Stamford Bridge changed over the years as well. I'll direct that at you, Roy, as no one answered.
Stamford Bridge. First time I went was for a cricket match.
Go on. It sounds like it's worth exploring.
Yeah, the West Indies were playing cricket there, so that was the first time I went to a floodlight cricket game. But,
well, that's how your dad ended up batting with Richards.
Yeah.
How has it changed for you over the years, Andy?
Yeah.
Oh, well, on the same sort of subject, totally random. I went to watch Northampton Town, but my first thing was Lancashire versus Northamptonshire, and that was at the cricket ground as well. So they used to have a stand that they used to turn round. So one half was the cricket, the other half was the football. And they used to just turn the stand around.
Yeah, happy days.
This is almost spurring off into a rival podcast here. There is, like, I remember as a kid, I didn't go. One of the reasons I didn't go when I was really young, and I've been a few times since, was that it was one of the most expensive grounds in the country, even when the stand, the away end, was uncovered, miles away from the pitch. And I remember it costing £9, right, which was a fortune in the early 90s for gays, when they were normally like, I don't know, when you were about 13, they were about £5 away games, £6 away games. Just looking at some prices now on Football Ticket Net, as posted by our mate Jeff Pearson. So 3 tickets in the away end for tomorrow night, for Saturday night. And that's handy because I'll have the 2 kids with me. So they're £2,210 each. You can get into the away end. 6,630 all in. As we know, it's free to get there, so you've got to take that into consideration. It appears, Kraig, that Chelsea care as much about touting as Manchester United do, which is not at all.
Well, and topical because Todd Bowley is involved with Vivid Seats, who are one of the kind of resale sites. Again, it's a weird one how it works. I think you can sell tickets on there from the UK, but you can't buy them. But apparently, according to the Premier League, there is no conflict of interest there, which just seems bizarre to me. Yeah, there was a video going around the other day of a couple of people from California paying 4 figures for whatever game it was. Man City, of course it was. So yeah, going and watching a 3-0 defeat. So yeah, again, I guess I'm a bit lucky that I've had a season ticket for as long as I have, because my ticket for tomorrow works out at £46 for the one game, which, you know, is still not an insignificant amount of money, but relatively speaking, it's you know, it's quite reasonable. But similar to Andy, sounds like what you're having with Old Trafford, where they're trying to sort of you know, move season tickets around and make it as inhospitable as possible for us who've been there for years. I think that's going to start happening at Stamford Bridge, because again, they want more and more money, and there's more and more of the tourist bits opening up within the stadium, and they don't want people like us, you know, who are just going and
Not at all.
paying our bit for the season ticket, and that's it. That's all they're getting out of us. They want the people coming from America who are prepared to pay for, you know, a one-off game, and they'll pay whatever, won't they?
Well, in
Oh, yeah, certainly. Yeah, like I say, the demographic of the fans sat next to me on Monday night, it was totally chalk and cheese from, like I say, from one side of the aisle to the other, from all the people I sat with all the years to who over there. Totally different. Totally different.
As far as this podcast goes, of course, we're all shiny and new and digital. We do retain Roy for balance. But if you want to get in touch, it's creamofmanchester1878@gmail.com, and you'll find us on all the socials. And if there's an issue you want to write about, let us know. It might find its way onto our Substack, to which you should be subscribed, please, along with our YouTube channel. We're doing this for now as it stands, but it would be good to get a few pints in one day. We are actually fortunate enough, though, to be sponsored by Etihad Airways. The check was actually addressed to the Professional Game Match Officials Limited, but I'm sure it's fine for us to catch. Speaking of which, United did not get a lot for Garnacho, did they? It seemed so at the time anyway. Now it's looking like good business from this end.
Yeah, I think his spell with us has been similar to what it felt like from the outside with yourselves. It's kind of, you see the odd flash, don't you, of him, and you think, oh, he's clearly got talent, but I mean, consistency just isn't there. He's not really nailed down a first team place. I think he's more of a sub at the moment. Yeah, it's, you know, again, it's such a difficult one with him, because you look at the sort of the stats, and you know, they look okay, but then you look at where the goals and assists are coming from, and it's kind of, you know, cup games, maybe Wrexham, things like that. Games that, you know, they're not really. I think Karabag away, he got a goal, so you know, he's not really been doing it in the, you know, in the games where it really matters. So yeah, I think the jury's very much out on him, to be kind.
I know you can't believe everything you read or see on the internet, but I saw something yesterday, and that Garnacho had managed to remove all these Chelsea socials off his page, and the only things that were left were these United ones. But like I say, you can't read or believe everything you see or hear on the internet, can you?
You can check it out though. I just haven't been asked to do that. Is that right,
Well,
Craig? Did you do that?
Apparently, it's not. Yeah, apparently he has still got the Chelsea things up there. I haven't had a look personally either, but I don't know if he's still got his Aston Villa shirt up on there as well that he had from last year.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
He's one of these, isn't he? He's like every ground we go to, he gets booed, and it's people who've got no beef with Chelsea or personal beef with him, but he's obviously made such a name for himself with all of that carry on last year that he's kind of made himself a pantomime villain, really.
Incredible. But anyway, long may it last. No, I'm bitter. No,
Yeah.
I was gutted because he played. We got a really good look at him in the U team. He looked brilliant. He looked like one of those ones who'd come through, even though he's clearly a bit, silly, and he just didn't seem to grow up at all. I know he's still young, but I was kind of gutted. So it was
like that, he was gone.
Yeah.
We don't really want it to bite us on the arse, to be frank. I wanted to ask
Chelsea
you
leave
if it's
Stamford
handy
Bridge
having
in
a
your
name like
time,
Dixon
Craig?
when you support Chelsea.
It's a tough one. Again, it's so complicated. We've got the Chelsea pitch owners, which was set up back in the early 90s in Ken Bates' day, when we got very, very close to losing the bridge in the sort of late 70s, 80s, and Ray Wilkins, actually, before he left for Man United, was one of the key people who was involved in making sure that the Mears family, who owned it previously, made sure that they could hold on to it, because it was. I mean, there's a whole story about it with David Dean's involved and all sorts, nearly losing it. But yeah, obviously we ended up getting the ground back, and Bates set up the Chelsea pitch owners, which is still to this day the kind of the deciding group. So any vote that to move away from Stamford Bridge would have to come, or to redevelop it, anything like that would have to come from the pitch owners, of which I am one. But as it stands, the new ownership haven't put anything forward, no new proposals, whether that's restructuring or moving elsewhere. I know Abramovich did want to move at one point, but that didn't go through because, again, the pitch owners voted against it. So good luck to these owners if they want to move, because if someone as popular as what Abramovich was isn't going to get a vote, then these lot certainly aren't going to get a vote in their favour.
What does it mean?
What's your capacity there at the moment?
So it kind of changes a little bit, because obviously they've been doing this with the safe seating and moving bits around, and again where they've kind of restructured certain bits for the corporate element. So I think it's kind of in the vicinity of 42,000. But again, I read a couple of days ago in one of the papers that we haven't actually had an attendance of over 40,000 in the whole season. And that's because of the corporate sections that they've got now. They've priced them so high that they can't sell out even to, day trippers and tourists and stuff. So yeah, we seem to have gone backwards somehow.
We used to have that problem in the old days in Old Trafford when the turnstiles didn't click, allegedly. What'd you say, Roy?
Well, you're talking about Ken Bates again at Chelsea, blimey, yeah. You'd go to a game and you'd look around and you think, oh, it's a really big gate today. And then you go home, look on CFCUK or wherever it was, and it said it was half the stadium wasn't there. So yeah, very funny.
Yeah. I've been in some huge crowds at Old Trafford. The Barcelona of 1984, and you look at that attendance and you think there was miles more in there that night.
Hey, Roy, before we finish, who's the best Chelsea player ever?
Peter Osgood that I've seen. I got to know him as well in the after dinner circle, but he was the top guy. When Osgood, yeah. Of course, Emily Hughes broke his leg, and that didn't help him, but he was a great player.
Osgood. Craig, you're off to see two sort of Manchester bands. James over like half Manchester, I think, and then Doves as well. This is at the O2 tonight. Doves are from Hanforth, I think. We'll credit that with Manchester.
Yeah,
what's that about?
Forward to it. Yeah, two of my favourite bands actually, but somehow over the years I've just managed to not see them. I've twice I was meant to see James, and I think the first one was cancelled because of COVID, and the second one was at Old Trafford Cricket Ground. Actually, they were meant to be on the bill with Johnny Marr and Cortinas, but they didn't up for some reason. Someone was ill or something like that. So yeah, it feels like a long time in the making. and I think Dove's had a few years where they weren't really active. Yeah, just finally getting around to seeing them as well. So yeah, looking forward to that.
I was at that gig at the
Enjoy.
cricket ground, and I thought I'd missed them. So you just give me some news on that. I thought I'd turn up too late. Brilliant then. We shall finish it there, lads. Just time to bring you the news that Stephen Bartlett's actually been in touch, and he says he doesn't want to buy us. Apparently, he can't visualise the strategy. So his loss. We're all off to see if that sees Roman Abramovich cash is still available, or if it's already gone to Putin. Mind the trams.